Hello and welcome to From Policy to Practice, Youth-Driven Growth in the Private Economy. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing. Greetings. As China concludes its 14th five-year plan and prepares for the 15th, 2025 ushers in a transformative era focused on green and low-carbon transition, new consumption, and cultivating young talent. All highlighted at this year's two sessions, but challenges remain, such as institutional barriers and funding bottlenecks for private enterprises. As green transition and AI take center stage, how can young entrepreneurs reimagine business models to align with tech innovation and ESG goals? And in the face of emerging consumption and global cultural IP expansion, how can young innovators leverage policies to stay competitive? Now, to explore all these questions and more, we're honored to have a distinguished panel of guests, young entrepreneurs with us today. They are in our studio, Brian Tse, founder and CEO of Concordia AI, Alan Cao's founder and CEO of CBD Self-Storage. He is a member of the Beijing Haidian District Committee of the CPPCC, member of the Beijing Youth Federation. And joining us online, we have Annie Wang, chairwoman of Guangdong Anjie Corporation. Anthony William Donald Anastasi is Associate Professor of Economics at Wenzhou Business College. Peng Fei is Associate Professor in the Department of Finance at Guanghua School of Management at Peking University. And Jingyu Chen is founder and CEO of AlphaLink, co-founder of the Gadgeteers Committee. Very interesting indeed. So let me start with you, Brian. AI is a hot and trending topic. I mentioned numerous times at the government work report. AI Plus is a new concept here. Maybe you can start by telling us a bit about where do you think we are in the development stages of AI and where China is, compared against other countries and societies.
First of all, thank you for the question, Guan. It's great to see you again. Let me start by giving some historical context of AI. So the history of AI began in 1950s, and we have seen multiple waves of progress as well as downs over the last 70 years. And now we have been in this era of deep learning since 2012, with breakthroughs such as machine translation and image recognition at kind of human level performance. In particular, over the last 5 years, we have seen the progress of what is called large language models. So ChatGPT and DeepSeek that is able to write poetry and assist humans with coding, and all these incredible amount of tasks that we have seen more recently. As of 2025, there are multiple important trends that are happening. So we have AI that are able to perform advanced reasoning, so producing these long train of thought that helps us with mathematical reasoning, with programming. And then B, we also have AI models that are able to produce very realistic images and even short videos. And then C, we also have AI agents that are able to plan and act with increasing amount of autonomy. So controlling our computer and producing kind of in-depth research reports all by themselves. And then D, I would say there is also application of AI for scientific research, in particular in the domain of life sciences, where we have protein design and drug discovery aided by these AI systems. Last but not least, we have AI systems that are being applied in the physical world. So humanoid robots and self-driving cars that are happening at also very rapid. When we think about AI in China, given this context, China has really been a leader in AI development and application. So right after the moment of AlphaGo in 2016-17, China developed the National AI Development Plan, setting out very specific goals by 2020, 2025, and then 2030. And if we look at what was accomplished by the time of 2020, according to the Stanford AI Index report, China was already surpassing the US in terms of the number of AI journals, citations, and publications as the #1 in the world. Of course, at a time, there was this challenge of producing truly kind of 0 to 1 innovation, right? China was always good at catching up on research, producing large volume of applications, but there was a question of whether China could truly innovate. But I think in the last few years, we have seen that there is pretty remarkable progress in this front as well. across all of the trends that I mentioned as of 2025, I would say China is really at the global forefront across all of them. In particular, we have also seen the role of private enterprises and startups with the slogans of, six tigers of large models and, the six dragons from Hangzhou.
Yeah.
I think these are like truly remarkable areas of progress.
It's very interesting when you mentioned whether or not China can truly innovate, because it's a question in the mind of many, right? For the longest time, people associate innovation with free market economies of the capitalist West, where there has been this innovative ecosystem, flourishing private entrepreneurship. If you look at DeepSeek and the power of its algorithm, and many users believe that it is more innovative, it is smarter, if you can put it that way, than its Western peers. I mean, China, like you said, is out innovating the West in many ways. How do you think we pulled it off?
I would say the Chinese AI industry has really charted a path of producing very innovative AI systems at a much lower cost. If you do the comparison, the Llama 3.1 model developed by Meta used around 31 million GPU hours to train. DeepSeek V3, it took around 3 million GPU hours. So more than 10 times difference. And what is the output? What is the performance? They're very similar, right? And so one implication is that for many countries and regions that don't have the same amount of computational resources, that is a very important trend, right? Second, I think that has also important environmental implication, right? Over the last few years, experts and civil societies have been concerned about the carbon footprint of scaling up larger and larger foundation models. And so I also think this is important for kind of environmental protection.
Talking about improving the economy, at the end of the day, it's mostly about increasing productivity, right? Reimagining business models, improving cost effectiveness. And that really leads to my next question to Alan, who's running this a phenomenal company, self-storage company, that is very common in the West, right? You store your luggages, your belongings temporarily or for a long time. So Alan, how did you spot this business opportunity? Perhaps you can give us a brief introduction of how it is developing right now and this market potential.
So self-storage is a very common services in the West, as you said, okay? And I believe that many people who have studied in the West, who have studied abroad, went to a boarding school, may have come across the need of self-storage during summertime. So that's how I personally came across self-storage in the first place. Then when I went back to Hong Kong for work, it was the blossom for the Hong Kong self-storage, okay? And space is getting more and more expensive in big cities. And in 2008, I went to Beijing, okay? And I look at the city, I say, hey, Beijing is an international city. It's a truly international city, just like Shanghai, just like London, just like New York. It is a very, what we call a common sense judgment that, okay, if this thing, okay, if this business works in the West, then it will also work in China.
The culture industry, that is a focus here at the two sessions. Yu-Chen, let me ask you about this. When people talk about Asian culture, they usually associate, the rise of Asian culture with in the Korean K-pop, right? They think about Parasite sweeping the Oscars, or Squid Game 1 and 2 and 3 coming up, are topping the charts of Netflix. But the Chinese cultural icons are doing an amazing job in the past year. If you think of Ne Zha, the iconic Chinese tale, and then also Black Wukong. What is this therapy, the secret formula behind the success of these Chinese cultural icons, and where do you think they're going next?
I think the difference between the Chinese entertainment industry and the Korean industry is that China has a huge domestic market, right? If you think about, we have a population of 1.4 billion, and we have the largest film industry, and in many ways we have the largest gaming industry as well. So there's a huge audience domestically. And but what we're seeing with Black Myth Wukong and also the popularity of Ne Zha is that these titles are gaining popularity globally. If you think about it, Ne Zha 2 is the highest grossing animated film globally, and it is the highest grossing non-English film globally. Before哪吒 2, it was really unimaginable, right, to have a Chinese film becoming the highest grossing animated film ever globally.
Yeah, who would have thought?
And but it's happening right now, and this is really taking the world, by surprise. And the Chinese market is very unique. The Chinese entertainment and cultural industry is very unique. First, we have the oldest continuous civilization in the world. And we're basically sitting on a gold mine here. So many stories, so many mythology. We're increasingly seeing entrepreneurs taking that story, taking that mythology, and innovate by using modern technologies and modern, I would say, storytelling technologies, right? And have that story resonate with a global audience.
Very good, very good. We look forward to more of those coming up. Annie, or Chairwoman Wang, let me ask you about this. Another big issue is the ecology, right? We've got to make things we make at lower costs and at lower energy costs per units. And this is what the government report says. China will have a 3% reduction in energy consumption per unit of GDP going forward. And we understand that Anjie Corporation that you're leading is a leader in chemical and health industry, really. It is one of the very, very few companies in Asia and around the world that is a green cycle. Tell us about that. And also, how are you balancing the need to grow your company in scale while also tending to those environmental concerns?
We've invested heavily in our research and developed department for biodegradable materials and waste-to-resource technologies, and reducing our carbon footprint by 80% since 2022. So for instance, our closed-loop production system recycles 95% of our industrial wastewater and converts byproducts into raw materials for partnerships in construction and agriculture. The industry is shifting toward the green premium products. Our clients from all over the world now demand sustainability metric alongside cost and quality. So now we are scaling digital tools like AI-driven energy optimization and blockchain for supply chain transparency, and collaborations with university on enzyme-based catalysis and clean energy storage are key to staying ahead. So, but aligning with the national goals, we aim to scale innovations such as expanding the application scenarios and usage scope of our products, which is sodium bicarbonate, and deepen the circularity, which is achieving 100% of industrial water reuse, and the 50% of the renewable energy reliance, enhance our global leadership by exporting the green chemical solutions to 15 BRI countries and leveraging China's strength in the cost-effective decarbonization technology.
Very good, very good. All the best with your current, ongoing, and future endeavors. Anthony, let me ask you, how do you assess Chinese government's policy mix and support for private enterprises, which are apparently having some difficulties over the years in terms of securing financing, in terms of having this level playing field with their bigger peers, and of course against the global headwinds, if you think about the external factors such as the geopolitical tensions and rivalries. What do you think?
Well, thank you so much for the question. So much of my research focuses on the middle income trap. And one of the major factors of whether a country can make the transition from middle income to high income is the state's ability to construct an incentive system that aligns private sector growth with the national development goals of the country, which can ensure structural transformation and industrial upgrading. And on the industrial upgrading side, we have seen a bunch of Chinese firms and industries respond very positively to the state's industrial policy, such as EVs or high-capacity battery, and also green tech. And they've been able to transform themselves into national champions. But on the structural transformation side, different stages of development do call for different development strategies. And right now, China is an upper middle income country, just about at the threshold of high income, and must adjust its development strategy currently. So moving from a high savings and high investment mode of development to one that's led by domestic consumption seems to be the best way forward and the best way to ensure this a smooth transition to high income status. Currently, household consumption accounts for about 38% of GDP, which is a little bit below the average, the world average of 56. And so there's plenty of room for growth. And recognizing this, both the Central Economic Work Conference last year and at the two sessions, the government work report, which Premier Li Qiang gave, boosted raising domestic consumption to its top priority. And boosting domestic consumption will grow the domestic market and also help out startups and big firms alike by giving them a prosperous and growing domestic market, so there's not too much reliance on international uncertainties.
Yeah, where do you think is the line between supportive policymaking and over-regulation?
Well, you do need to have private enterprises contribute effectively to national development goals. Sometimes left alone, private businesses could go into industries that could have some negative externalities towards the rest of the public and maybe even the economy as a whole. And so a nice guiding hand and also plenty of support for priorities would be the best way rather than overregulation.
China's annual political season convenes at a critical juncture for advancing Chinese modernization. Deputies and political advisors gather in Beijing to outline this year's blueprint. Resilience and innovation. China is set to strengthen new quality productive forces for high-quality growth. Reform and opening up. China is further embracing business as unilateralism looms over the global economy. People-centered development and a shared future. China upholds true multilateralism for global peace and prosperity. Full coverage of the China agenda throughout the two sessions, only on CGTN.
Each day, there are millions of stories. Each one can open new perspectives, new possibilities. Wherever you look, we are there to see, discover, explore. We put the pieces together to find what really matters to you, all around the world, all around the clock. Our reporters are at home across the globe. From our headquarters in Beijing and production centers in Washington, Nairobi, and London. Stories from across the globe, reaching people across the globe. CGTN. See the difference.
Brian, let me turn to you. This very interesting concept, Global AI Governance Initiative. What do you think the contours of it should look like? What should it entail?
Absolutely. Over the years, China has introduced a number of foreign policy initiatives. There was the Global Development Initiative with a focus on poverty alleviation. There was the Global Security Initiative, tackling global issues ranging from climate change to pandemic preparedness and nuclear security. For the whole humankind. And then there was also the Global Civilizational Initiative, trying to propose a way of thinking about international relations that is based on mutual respect between different civilizations and cultures. And then now we have Global AI Governance Initiative. So it is in this context that we can see that global AI governance has become a major priority for China and for the Chinese leadership on the international stage. I think one of the critical themes about this initiative is really striking a balance between harnessing the benefit from AI while mitigate its potential risk. So let's look at the benefits, right? It's clear that we need to distribute the benefits of AI broadly. while kind of empowering the voices of the global south. So in July 2024, China proposed a resolution at the United Nations General Assembly talking about the need to build global capacity in AI, leaving no one behind, co-sponsored by more than 140 countries in the world. Meanwhile, we also have innovation from the Chinese AI industry. And then we also have very strong open source ecosystem. So if you look at the leaderboard of open source foundation models, it's Guan from Alibaba, it's 01.AI's models, it's leading the wave of open science in the era of AI. And I think that really helps the developing countries to adopt AI and use those foundation models in their context of languages and cultures. Meanwhile, it's also clear that there are potential risks from AI that needs to be mitigated. So if we think about the misuse potential of AI could potentially lower the barrier for terrorists to launch cyber attacks to attack critical infrastructure, to scale disinformation, or even design novel pathogens and toxins as biological and chemical weapons. And so the initiative has also called for international cooperation to mitigate the misuse risk from AI. Also, there is this possibility of humans losing control over very powerful AI in the future. And so it is also critical for the research community, the industry, and policymaking community around the world to make sure that humans maintain control over AI. And so I would say that this initiative is really important for promoting trust of AI and then creating shared priorities for the global community.
Alan, when you think about the government's pro-growth policies in the year 2025, that has a long list of things to be completed, among them the replacement of old items with newer items. What are the impact of these policies having on your business in particular, self-storage sector?
In general, I think the opportunity for self-storage in China is not only because of the sheer market size, it's more about the technology opportunity here. I mean, self-storage is a very established industry globally. It's new in China. First, you got a huge market, okay? Second is the localization and the integration of technology into self-storage. So the way we do self-storage is we call ourselves smart self-storage. So 10 years ago, when we talk about the Web 2.0 era, okay, we're the first, I think, on this planet, integrating WeChat and smart locks into self-storage. Okay, so this is the foundation of smart self-storage. And now we're going to the Web 3.0 era. Say, for example, AI, DeepSeek, is a great advantage, to enhance the efficiency of the overall self-storage operation. For example, customer service. You literally have a highly, efficient machine, okay, that can non-stop answering questions and inquiries from customers, okay, and this is only recently made available in China. So I would say that the opportunity of doing business in mainland China is how to use all kinds of new technologies emerge in our country and to enhance the operation and underlying performance of a traditional industry.
But do you find the government supporting this business model? Do you find it supportive, local municipality and regulators?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so for example, the Beijing Municipal Authority, since 2023, okay, had actually put together, an industry association, okay, and they actually had allocated, specific department, okay, in helping us to come up with an industry standard. And that's very responsive, okay? So, we say in the past, it might be a Wild West, but now we're very clear, okay? So you see, that's how we respond to new industries. Like, okay, yes, it's a new industry, okay, unheard of in mainland China, and now, okay, the Beijing government say, okay, wow, okay, this new consumption, okay, behavior or this service is in need, and there's a market for it. So they make new policies, okay, according to our needs, to our industry needs, and yeah, we're creating now a Beijing standard that according to the association, we're actually trying to bring this Beijing standard and to apply that to the whole country. And so the next target is the industry is planning to have an industry standard, just like in any developed markets.
Yu-Chen, let me ask you, because you're doing something that is very important, right? Making the Chinese culture more appealing to our friends around the world. Tell us about this Gadgeteers committee, of which you helped founded. What it is all about?
I've always loved comedy, and actually I grew up listening to crosstalk, a very important art form that is rooted in northern China. And crosstalk has almost 100 years of history, kind of emerged during the Qing dynasty. And it's similar to, I would say, something in the Western culture similar to Abbott and Costello's Who Sung First. You have one straight person and one funny person, and then that's how they make jokes. But what we're seeing right now is really the emergence of stand-up comedy. That's why we started this stand-up comedy club 5 years ago. And over the years, we've really witnessed how the industry just grew rapidly. And with some of the popular TV shows, the popularity of stand-up comedy in China is really amazing. And we're really seeing the combination of the mix of the Chinese traditional culture and the emergence of basically, Western stand-up comedy. It's amazing how vibrant the environment is, right? I mean, the local municipality really has many, promotion policies that really incentivizes the private businesses to participate in the cultural and entertainment industry. It's really a very vibrant business environment where we're seeing the so-called cultural IP plus model being utilized by many of the entrepreneurs here in China. If you think about it, the market is huge because, we have a huge population, and the Gen Z population is huge in big cities like Shanghai and Beijing. And there are many opportunities here in China, and it's a very healthy, say, business environment. And with the newly established, I think, over the years we've seen, the Chinese government being really pro-business, and also at the municipality level, we're seeing a lot of incentives being given to entrepreneurs to make sure that, to make sure that they're highly incentivized to participate and to become a very important player.
Annie, let me ask you, because the Chinese government have always placed importance on, on trade, right? Exporting what China can produce and manufacture to the rest of the world. And your company has been quite successful in doing that. 70% of the chemicals and related products are sold to overseas buyers. Maybe you can tell us a bit about your journey and the challenges you've overcome along the way.
Well, all right. So thanks for the question. So because my company belongs to the private sector, so thanks for the private economy's law, which emphasizes on market access and IP protection, which has been transformative nowadays. So it enables us to secure patents and bid for state-backed green chemistry projects, previously dominated by the SOEs. So for instance, my company is a resource-based industry. Beneficial from the private economy law, we can attain our source of production through gaining mining certificates from the local government. The ESG concept is quite popular. So I also advocate for we can streamline the ESG financing channels because in China, the green bond approvals will still take to two to 3 months longer in Zhejiang pilot zone. So the shortening of the approval process could ease the financial burden of the green manufacturing enterprises like us. Nowadays, the private economy law isn't just about fairness, it's also the productivity multiplier. So I think by enabling private firms to compete on the innovation rather than the scale alone. It aligns with the government's goal to have strategic emerging industries, for example, like green chemistry, could contribute 20% of GDP by 2025. So our experience shows that with the right policy scaffolding, the private companies can turn national sustainability targets into the exportable technological solutions.
Peng Fei, the private sector is in focus. The Chinese president just had a symposium with them, and also they have been the drivers of innovation, of job creation, and of innovation, of course. They're usually considered more efficient. Tell us about where you think the private sector in China is, and where do you think they can benefit and leverage?
Well, I think if we look at the progress of the private sector in the past 1 or 2 decades, the major breakthrough occurs in the engineering-intensive sectors, but it's relatively falling behind in where it's moving not that fast in science-intensive sectors. By engineering-intensive sectors, I mean sectors where advancement depends on the technical know-how of the engineers. And by science-intensive sectors, I mean sectors where advancement hinges crucially on the discoveries in basic sciences, like life sciences. If you look at, say, the new energy vehicle sectors, or lithium ions, battery production, or shipbuildings, or even artificial intelligence, we benefit tremendously from the abundant supply of high-quality engineers and very talented pool of people because of a huge population base and or refined education system. So that has provided a lot of opportunities to commercialize these scientific discoveries, as you have already mentioned, because of the recent introduction of the new laws, and it has created a stronger sense of legal certainty and to boost the confidence of the entrepreneurship in China. I mean, sometimes it's not so much about how much the legal environment is pro-businesses or not. Sometimes it's more about how uncertain the legal environment is. And what the recent law is, the first and foremost role of the recent legal advancement to boost entrepreneurship is to instill a stronger sense of legal uncertainty. That is the direction to go. And also, as Annie has already mentioned, it also improves the market access for the private sectors and private investors, and also a fairer competition is contributing to level the playing ground between the private enterprises and their SOE counterparts, and also financing. I mean, we're also expecting a more favorable financing environment for the private enterprises, not only about the banking sector for the traditional businesses, but also about venture capital and angel investors that can better channel the financial resources into the innovation sectors.
Yeah, I mean, fine-tuning of policy and even course-correcting adaptation is so important for investors, for consumers alike. Anthony, let's talk about electric vehicles, because China produces a whole lot of them, 13 million units. That is a number produced in 2024. From a global perspective, how do you think China's new energy vehicles can maneuver through a tough and sometimes hostile international environment?
I think the electric vehicle industry in China is a great example of moving from cost competitiveness to quality and innovation competitiveness. So firms like BYD and Li Auto can still compete on cost, but some of their technology and the quality are at top of the world. But it seems like the biggest challenge for this industry is structural. Like, healthy competition is good, but 内卷 or over competition is bad, and it's leading to a deadly price war right now. And so you have the bigger firms like BYD and Li Auto. They have scale advantage and they are profitable. But at the same time, you do have some of these little firms in the industry. They are not profitable, and some of them don't really seem like they have a map to profitability. But they have a lot of impressive technology, and a few of them have built out really impressive infrastructure around the country. So I believe some healthy consolidation within that industry could enable some of the bigger firms to leverage their scale with some of the incredible technology. Calming down some overcompetition would help them sustainably in the domestic market and internationally. But I think BYD opening up some plants in Europe is a good way to kind of overcome and assuage some of those geopolitical concerns.
Images may appear to be identical, but looks can be deceiving. The difference is not always obvious. It has to be discovered. There are always different sides to a story. We put the focus on the details. To see more, to understand better. CGTN. See the difference.
Before we let you go, there are some questions from members of the audience. Okay, here's the first question.
My name is Maiken Meindertsma, a student from the University of British Columbia. During the 2 sessions, I noticed that Peng Gongshen, Governor of the People's Bank of China, highlighted the vitality of China's technological innovation and welcomed international investors to invest in Chinese technology companies. As a foreign student aspiring to start a business in China, what opportunities and support are there for foreign entrepreneurs in the country's technology sector?
Professor Han, can you take a crack at this question first?
Sure. I mean, it's important to recognize that the global innovation ecosystem is getting increasingly open. It's getting increasingly open to become an open paradigm for innovation, where innovation hinges on the joint effort of all the talents scattered all around the world. And if you look at major technological giants in China, like Huawei, they have more than 100 R&D centers all around the world. And for example, if you look at the recent development of the operation system, so from the perspective of the foreign students or international students, let's build more bridges. In particular for innovation, and it's important to discover the relative competitiveness of different nations, of different universities, of different types of talents, and to optimize the allocation of the innovation resources so that each task of the innovation process is delegated to the most talented and competent individual or company or university or research team.
Anthony, do you have anything to add for the first question?
Sure. I'll go off on what Professor Peng said. And just having a knowledge of cultural nuance and the local culture could go a long way. And I believe there's a lot of opportunities for foreign students there.
Great, great. The second question.
Hi, I'm Ellen Hoyan Hu from Tsinghua University. I've been keeping up with the information from 2 sectors recently, and I want to ask, with the rise of green industry, what roles do young professionals play in driving progress in your sectors? And how can young entrepreneurs harness the power of technologies and their innovations to stay competitive? Thank you.
Annie would be a good fit to answer this question, right? Annie?
Using my company as an example, we have a lot of young professions in our lab. And over 70% of our carbon capture product leads are under 35. They are leveraging their skills in computational chemistry and IT-enabled monitoring. So I think the young professions are our sustainability task force's engine, which is for the new force. So I think their influences in tools like some LCA software has slashed product eco design cycles from 18 to 9 months. So I think our Gen Z team combines the genetic biology with 3D printing to develop some customized packaging, and which is very popular among our clients. And also the green competitiveness isn't just about tech. And also our junior staff will decide the logistic routes using quantum and linear algorithm, which cutting road emissions by 22%. So I think for China to lead to the green transition, and we should empowering the youth isn't optional, it's essential. Their ability to merge cutting-edge tech with circular principles will determine whether industry like ours thrive in the age of decarbonization. Thank you.
Back to that question about NDRC.
I noticed that Mr. Zheng Shenjie, the director for the National Development and Reform Commission, recently announced that China is advancing the establishment of a mega national venture capital fund, which leverages nearly 1 trillion yuan in local and private capital. This fund focuses on cutting-edge fields such as artificial intelligence, quantum technology, and hydrogen energy storage. So I'm wondering, what opportunities does this ultimately create for the development of a new quality productive forces? Thank you.
Brian?
I think this is critical. When I think about the progress of AI, there are really a couple of key elements. You need a lot of data to train the models. You need compute, the chips. You need the energy. And also you need great ideas, especially by great talents. And then you need capital, especially for early stage startups. Venture capital is really the fuel of their growth. And when I look at the venture capital industry in China for AI, I think currently it's still less than half of that as compared to the US. And so I think this type of policy will be critical for young entrepreneurs to create new startups in AI and other industries that are fundamental to the next stage of high quality growth.
Very good, very good. Alan, what do you think?
Well, this definitely reflects, how committed and how determined our country is in promoting and echoing, what we said and what we do. In order to develop any industry, capital expenditure, capital investment is a must. And having this government-backed fund, and also integrating capital from the private sector, this new joint venture fund will definitely help to accelerate the development of the process. I think it's one step forward. If you look at the previous decade, right, it's mostly like foreign venture, foreign capital fund VCs doing this. And if you look at this era, it's mostly driven by domestic capital, by the capital coming from the central government in a very complete movement. So I would say that's very encouraging, for anyone who wants to capitalize and to get hold of this ride, of this, tech blossom in China.
Tech blossom, very good. Very interesting time that we're living in right now. Technology is key, and so is government support and nurturing. With that, we come to the end of this edition of Youth Panel Discussion on Innovation and Private Entrepreneurship. I want to thank each and every one of the panelists here for joining us online and here in person. Thank you all so very much. And thank you, our viewers, for tuning in. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing. I'll see you again next time.